guys, it's the Dalton, and this is my friend Angelo.
Hello.
And this is just something I'm trying out. It's kind of a movie review. The catch is me and someone else, in this case Angelo. We watch a movie, and then we just kind of talk about it. Kind of a on-the-fly thing, I suppose. And Angelo, you're a big Tarantino fan, right?
Yes, I do love Quentin Tarantino. I actually have the 20th anniversary box set of all his films.
Yeah. So we watched a Tarantino movie, and which one was that, Angelo?
It was Death Proof.
Death Proof.
It was made in 2007. It was actually right before Inglourious Basterds.
So did he direct that one?
Yes, it was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, then.
It's part of the Grindhouse series.
Uh-huh. They definitely have that feel to it.
Yes. So I had seen the movie previously. What was your initial response to it?
Initial response as the beginning went on, I would say that I didn't care for the main characters that they had in the first part of it. I started to like it as it went on, though. So first impressions aren't really, in my opinion, this movie's strong thing. Definitely
not. I feel like the first conversation is probably the weakest one in all of them, because it's just them talking about getting weed.
Right.
I do like the opening scene, though, personally. I really like that long shot of just her feet, and then that's where all the title cards come.
That was probably my biggest problem with this movie, is just people with their feet out of the window. That's gross.
There is a shit ton of feet in this.
It's not a feet, I promise, just when you're sticking them out of the window of a car, no, don't do that. That's disgusting.
But everybody who stuck feet out the window had a negative consequence.
Right.
To that happening.
Well, not so much with the second half, but
yeah.
I digress. So the beginning, I don't even remember those girls' names.
There was Julia.
Julia, the radio host.
Yes, which I like her as a character. I thought she was but I think I agree with you with the two parts. The first set of girls are kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Like you definitely you kind of you could easily misplace who they are.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but they die, at the end of their part of the story, obviously.
Yes.
Maybe not, but. And I feel like maybe they were made to be, kind of hateful characters. That way you kind of feel good when they die.
Yeah, definitely. I think that happens with a lot of horror movies, which this is obviously not a clean cut horror movie, but in horror movies you don't want your characters to be too relatable, because you don't want people to feel bad when you're killing people off.
Right.
Yeah.
The person killing them, who was it? That was Stuntman Mike, I believe.
Stuntman Mike, yes.
And, hello? Just talking about a movie. Stuntman Mike, he was played by Kurt Russell, right?
Yes,
right.
That is correct.
So,
I thought his character was pretty over the top. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going for a subtle character.
I would definitely say he was the best character in it, though.
I liked Stuntman Mike. I thought he was very fun.
Which is weird, because I don't really care for Kurt Russell as an actor that much.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen a lot of his work outside of this, but I really thought this was a good role for him. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if that says much about him since it's a kind of a parody. Mm-hmm.
Basically, though, Stuntman Mike, he just kind of just kills women via car crashes. Is that just his whole thing?
Yes, that is his shtick.
All right.
Because I guess he must have been a stuntman at one point, but now he just drives around with his super souped-up car that is death-proof, which is where the name comes from.
Right. I don't get how you can make a car death-proof. He might have been explaining it, but it went over my head.
It was
I'm not a car man.
It is. It's super reinforced, which, again, I don't know much about that, but he does explain. That's what I really like about this movie, is that a lot of the things in the movie are about, how movies were made, how car movies specifically were made back in the day. That's a big, pivotal part of it. And also
that went over my head.
That's what it's all about, is the final chase scene is all about how they used to make real cars, real people getting in crashes. And that was Tarantino's whole point, because he wanted to really showcase Zoe Bell, who is the girl that was on the hood of the car, and she's actually the stunt double from Kill Bill. She's
Oh.
Uma Thurman's stunt double.
Huh.
So he made this movie specifically for her because he was like, I want to show off how good of a stunt woman you are.
That probably explains a lot regarding the ending.
Yes, definitely. I really liked it. Again, I'm not a big fan of car movies. Like, I've watched Vanishing Point, which this draws on Vanishing Point a lot, and I didn't really like it so much, but like, I mean, I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I didn't. It's not one of my favorite movies. But I really liked this one just because it truly showcased the cars off. Like, I really thought.
Yeah. Also, for anyone who cares, which is any Tarantino fan, his cameo is in the bar scene.
Yes,
So.
he is Warren the bartender.
Warren the bartender.
And he gets them to take shots of chartreuse.
Chartreuse.
I love his line, it's the only liquor good enough they named a color after it. Which that is actually a true fact.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I again learned it from the movie.
Right. Who was the other character in the bar scene that stuntman Mike supposedly was supposed to take home?
Oh, the hippie
blonde
chick?
girl. Yeah.
I don't even remember her
Did she
name.
have a name?
I don't think she had a name.
Oh, well. Nameless hippie chick. She is the first to die, I believe.
Yep, she is. I think her name might have been April, but I don't remember for sure.
It is a shame because I'm not sure if it was that I liked her character. It was just that the way that her death scene was done actually made me give a shit about her.
Yeah.
But like I remember when she died, I actually kind of cared. I was like, why?
Exactly. Yeah, I felt that way too because I was like, I guess because it was so brutal.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was because it was a realistic kind of brutal.
Yeah, definitely. It was very.
Like it's not like an over the top just like in Pulp Fiction where that guy's head just flat out explodes when it gets shot. It was not completely realistic, but it was definitely something that seemed like it could actually happen if you were to get into a car crash like that.
Exactly, because she didn't have any restraints or anything, and it's all metal bars, so I'm sure that's what it. Which I mean, why would you get in that? Car. Like as soon as I saw that, I'd be like, that's okay. But I guess she didn't have any other choice.
Right. The line that Stuntman Mike says, like right before hippie chick dies, like not right before, but right before he starts the process of killing her. Like what was it?
The one about her getting scared.
Yeah.
So she's like, he's like, which way are you going, left or right? And she's like, oh, well, I'm going right. And it's like, well, that's a shame, because there was a 50-50 chance you'd be going the same way I'm going. And, we're both going left, but now you're just going to have to get scared immediately.
Yeah, that line right there is the second best part of the movie. And that comes almost right after the very best, in which Kurt Russell recites a poem and buys a drink for the girl, what was it, Butterfly?
Yeah, Butterfly. I'm sure she has an actual name, but yeah, Butterfly.
Yeah, that was like established somewhere in the beginning conversation where if someone bought her a drink, called her Butterfly, and recite a poem, then she would have to give him a lap dance. And before the actual lap dance, Butterfly basically just says like, "No, I'm not giving you a lap dance." And then what Kurt Russell does, he just pulls out a book and he's like, "I have an actual book, and you're going in the chicken shit list," which. Like before that, he said, like how people say, like, well, you're okay in my book, or and that inspired me to get a book.
There you go. He's gonna be the next stuntman, Mike.
Well, I'm not going that far. I'll just get the book. I like that idea of it.
That is a fun idea. I like the concept.
Just writing down names. That's not creepy at all, actually.
It's like, everyone I meet goes in this book. I love how his inflection changes when he does that.
Like almost in like a John Wayne impression.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's very strange, and I like that because it gets you like, wait, what the fuck's going on? It adds to the whole aesthetic, because the whole aesthetic is like shitty horror movie basically.
Yeah, kind of.
And so
I definitely feel the suspense of it. So.
Yeah, you lose like that. A lot of continuity errors are done purposely in it.
Right.
So.
I did notice that.
Which again, like you were talking about that one scene when the crash actually happens, where they go back and they show you each individual character dying.
Like Stuntman Mike kills Butterfly and the other two girls, and some other fourth girl. I don't know who she was.
She was Lisa Frank.
Lisa Frank.
She's literally the one I can remember.
She was the one who was selling them weed, wasn't
she had the pot, so that's why they were.
She's coming there, and Stuntman Mike just crashes head on into him. And I had thought at that point that the car was like had the ability to like skip time or something. Because like the way it was cut, it was like he pulled like a lever in his car.
I think that was the headlights.
Like he pulled the headlight lever, then he crashed in the car, then someone like flies out, then he pulls it again, and then someone else gets fucked up, pulls it out, and gross foot out window lady gets her leg off, and then he pulls it again. I take that back. That was the best part of the movie.
That just because there was so much detail.
Yeah,
There's
it's
so
like
much detail in that.
That's what you get, bitch.
It was crazy. I'm actually, the way I'm thinking about it is the second scene is set up so perfectly because basically part one is just setting up that Kurt Russell is this shitty guy who kills girls.
That is kind of that whole.
That's basically what it is. And then the second part is like, here's him getting revenge. Because without the first part, like you'd still know he's a crap guy, but you don't know how much because you don't actually see him kill people in the second part. And I think that's almost necessary for that almost like tasteful revenge.
Yeah. That makes it less heartbreaking when Stuntman like gets the shit beat out of him.
Exactly.
I don't know why I felt bad for him at the end.
I mean, there's a little bit of remorse, but I feel like
I think that's just because of the likability he establishes in the first part.
Yeah, because I mean, he's not a bad guy in the first part. Before anybody dies, you think he's just
he's just some creepy nice guy with a scar.
Exactly, because he doesn't do anything bad. Although that scene with him eating the nachos is disgusting.
That was confusing. Like, why the focus on his mouth eating the nachos?
Yeah, it's just like the close up of like him just moving his mouth. It's crazy.
Right.
But I really like the lap dance scene as well. What did you think about?
For me, I didn't care for it too much. I did like the cut where it just like completely just stopped and goes to them leaving.
Moving on. I did like that. I think it was good to cut that early, but
yeah.
I like the song. I really like the coasters, so that's part of the reason why I like that. But I feel like it is fan service, but
definitely, yeah.
I feel like that again kind of plays into that B.
I think to an extent it is a bit necessary to
Yeah.
establish the character.
Yeah, because it shows her and Stuntman Mike interacting. But it is definitely fan service, and you can see that. And actually, that poem is I was thinking about it, it's a Robert Frost poem.
Oh, is it?
Reciting.
Huh.
I don't know the specific poem, but I do know it's by Frost.
I figured it was some kind of real poem. I just didn't know author. I didn't really care.
It did really fit really well, and I like in Tarantino's style, especially with this one, which he does with a lot of his movies. He's more of a show, not tell kind of guy, so it's very heavily visual. I mean, there's obviously conversations.
Yeah.
But when he can, he likes to show things. Like he has that, like you were gonna say.
Like that's his big thing.
Yeah.
Was like, this movie was like mostly conversation.
Exactly. I mean, that's his thing, is conversation. But definitely they're heavily visual scenes around it though. Like the Texas Chili Parlor, the bar they were in. It's just got so many things on the wall.
Right.
It's almost like you can't ignore the scene becomes a character itself.
Yeah, because I found myself looking in the background a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I remember seeing just one dude like just staring at the back of Jungle Julia's head, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
It's true, and I kind of like that because it's like sometimes conversation can be boring, and that's the one thing in movies is you have to be able to make conversation interesting.
Right.
So how do you do that? And like some people like have them doing stuff in between. And then I think like having all those signs and all that other stuff in the background kind of gives you like when you like trail off a little bit, you can kind of just look at all the interesting things in the background. But it was very conversation heavy for such a short film. I mean, that would again, like I said, the first
How long was
conversation.
the movie?
It's about 98 minutes, I think. And it's probably one of Tarantino's shorter films. Usually, he's upwards of 2 hours.
I did found that weird ending. Well, what fell early, I guess.
It did feel, but I feel like he couldn't really do much more with it. Because, I mean, the story had run its course.
I did like how it was kind of like 2 different stories that was all connected by just one character.
Yeah.
Like, it almost felt up, and this isn't weird me making the connection because it's October, but it almost felt like watching, like, Frankenstein and Dracula or some kind of short Universal movies back to back. Because those movies are usually only like just a little bit over an hour.
I definitely felt that too. Like it almost It almost does feel like a double feature.
Yeah, like a Grindhouse actually. So
it's perfect. Yeah,
props for that.
It's interesting. This movie was originally shown with Planet Terror, which is the other big Grindhouse film, which is the girl with the machine gun leg. Which I actually haven't seen that film, but that was when it was. So that's the original thing, and they showed like trailers in between.
Oh, of course they did.
Yes. Actually, one of those trailers was the Machete trailer, and then it became a real film. Like it was just a joke trailer, and then they turned it into a real movie.
This is a bit of a digression. Do you know that Machete's part of the Spy Kids universe?
I did know that.
Yeah, that's silly, but
isn't that insane? Well, it's by the same director.
Right. Back to the
but that was
death proof.
You can't talk about one Grindhouse movie without talking about all of them.
The second half of it was definitely better in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because for one, like the 4 main women were, in my opinion, way more likable.
And they were interesting. They were very interesting because they are all people working on a movie set.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are stunt women, so that's very interesting. And I like how, like you said, Lee is she's not a very influential character. She's just kind of in the background, but they explain why she's in a cheerleader.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that because I was completely lost. Like while we were watching the movie, I was just like dying to like just kind of like lean over and go like, are they supposed to be in high school or something? Or
exactly,
that was bugging the shit out of me.
I like that he puts that in, and there's a ton of Easter eggs as well in that second part because their car is yellow and black, and it's called the Little Pussy Wagon, which is a reference to Kill Bill. Oh. And
I figured it was some kind of reference to a Tarantino movie. I just didn't know which one. I'm not too well versed in his movies.
And her ringtone while she was in the store is a song that plays in Kill Bill. That whistling is in Kill Bill Volume 1 as well. So there's a ton of, and the guy selling red apples in the back. And
always throwing that shit in there, Tarantino.
He does. You always know it's a Tarantino film. He does that. And
it's only one film because as far as I know, he doesn't make a cameo in the second half.
He does not.
So
that's true.
That's how you know it's one movie.
And he always does one long take, which we were actually talking about that while we were watching the movie. In the second part, there's a breakfast scene, which is actually reminiscent of Reservoir Dogs, because he does the same thing in that.
What, like the spin around?
Yeah, where they spin around. And
that was something I wanted to say, but I feel like maybe the joke kind of wouldn't work. But like while like it was spinning around, like sometimes it just stop and go the other way. And when it did the second time, I just kind of wanted to yell like, "Make up your mind, which way do you want to go?"
It's true, and usually with shots, people will say you have to choose one direction to go because most people would say it's not good. It looks unclean to go different ways in one shot. But I think it works because it always is on the person you want to see. Maybe it's not the person talking, but it's like a reaction and I mean it probably took forever to rehearse that shot just because it's so long.
Right, and like as far as I know, it was only done in one take, not one take, but like it's one long shot, however long that was.
Yeah, I didn't see any cuts. Again, there are ways that you can make it look like it's not a cut, but I mean, as far as I could tell, there were no cuts in it.
As far as I know, that conversation actually had purpose because like that was the one where they established that Zoe's always landing on her, like whatever.
And they established the gun.
Right, that too.
So yeah, definitely Tarantino always uses his conversation. They might not seem important at the time, but they always play
I
out.
feel like sometimes they can be unimportant.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like what was the one conversation they were having that was kind of random? Well, the thing where they were talking about the music in the car.
Oh yeah.
That didn't really relate to anything. Yeah. But I like those because they're also very interesting. Like
like they feel like real conversations, but at the same time, it's like.
It is out of place.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, especially because it's in a movie, and like I'm pretty sure most people don't watch a movie for the severe realism.
That's true.
Maybe people do. I don't know. That's just me.
Definitely, when you're watching a Tarantino film, you get that.
Because by Tarantino logic, there's I think a picture of it, but it's like humans are just like a thin layer of skin followed by blood.
Yes, that's all humans. So it's definitely not realism per se, but he likes to get that like. He likes to try to make them feel more human. Like that was the big thing with Pulp Fiction that actually a lot of people were mad about is that, Jules and Vincent have this conversation about cheeseburgers before they go to shoot the people in the room. And it's like, well, why do you want to make these characters so relatable, so normal?
That was, what was it? That long conversation, that was also where they said Zoe wanted to drive that.
Yeah, drive the car for...
What was it, Dodge Challenger?
Yeah, Dodge Challenger.
1970 Dodge Challenger with 440 Magnum engine or something.
Yeah, 440cc engine and a white paint job.
What? Yeah.
Which is from the movie Vanishing Point, which they reference in the film.
And then that was also part of the conversation where they were like, well, I'm a girl, I don't watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I have seen Vanishing Point specifically because I wanted to see the reference to the movie, and it's basically just this guy has to get a car from the East Coast to the West Coast in like under 3 days, like an impossible amount of time.
Right.
So he basically has to race across the country. And basically the police are like, this guy's fucking speeding through the nation, and so they try to stop him. And there's this whole metaphor about freedom thrown into it. It's a very 70s movie, like when you watch it. And it basically ends with a really big car crash. Like they have to put these two bulldozers in front of the road, and he crashes right into the bulldozers. So it's a whole thing about freedom.
One thing that really does bother me about the movie was when they go to, like, test drive the car or steal it or whatever their plan was.
Yeah, it's like...
And we're like, they just kind of leave Lee there with the salesman who's like, the stereotypical living in the woods, hick, redneck kind of dude.
I always feel weird without that too, because it's like, what if she got raped? Like, I always feel like, I don't feel like there would be rape, but I just feel like that was always a possibility.
Well, I think that's the implication, because, they're in the middle of nowhere, he's a redneck kind of guy, and he's kind of laughing while they're like, and then she just goes to go. But that's actually not my real problem. My problem is just, like, the movie ends, like, where there's no closure with whatever happened to Lee.
Yeah, Lee is never mentioned.
It's like, what happened? Did they just leave her there? Because I doubt very seriously they... took the car back to the guy.
Yeah, what would they be? That's what I always thought too. I was like, what are they going to do? I guess they'd have to pay him for the car.
I suppose.
I mean that's
like,
the only thing.
That's the thing. Like, obviously they were intending on stealing it, so.
Well, I don't think they wanted to steal it. Like she said, she just wanted to test drive it. So
that.
If their plan, if Stuntman Mike never came in, they would have just brought it back. Right, that was the whole thing. Because that's why Lee was there. She was collateral. For them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like things. I mean, they could try to explain it, but he didn't see it, so he doesn't know that they were fighting for their lives. What do you think of the stunts? I always am like shocked by the.
I did like the stunts, but that was actually something I wanted to bring up. What was that game? What was that thing they wanted to say they did with the car?
Ship's Master.
Ship's Mass or Ship's Master.
I think it's Ship's Master. You might be.
I think it's Ship's Mass because it's. Basically what it is I had asked while they were talking about it, and he told me, like, you're not supposed to know. For a second I thought it just meant they would never bring it up again, but...
It's that it comes up later, which I thought the same thing too. I was like, well, are they going to explain? But they eventually explain what it is.
Like, basically it's just like, well, I'm already spoiling the movie, you guys can know. It's, you explain it actually.
Basically what Ship's Mast is one person, once you get the car up to speed, one person gets on top of the hood, and they use two belts that are attached to the side doors, and they just hold on, and they kind of like sprawl out on the hood of the engine, like a mast of a ship.
Like what I think the pirates used to do to people they captured or wanted to punish.
Exactly, so it's kind of a form of torture, but she was doing it, Zoe was doing it just for
the
the
rush
thrill.
of it.
Yes. And
she was an adrenaline junkie.
It's just amazing to see it, because it's so rare these days that you see films that have real stunt. Like, usually they green screen something like that.
Stuntman Mike brought something up like of that before he killed Hippie Chick.
Yeah. And it's very jarring to actually, like, when I first watched that, I was watching it by myself, because I was just going through the collection when I bought it, because I'm that much of a nerd.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and I was, like, on the edge of my seat, because I was like, what's going to happen? And I think the reason that I was like that is because I almost thought, I knew she wasn't going to actually die, but I almost thought Tarantino was going to have her fall off the hood. And the only reason I thought that is because, again, it was set up previously that people can die very gorily in this movie with the hippie chick. And I think that sets it up to where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if she's going to fall off. And because of that, there are points where I genuinely were like, she's gonna fall off.
I actually felt that way too. Like, I did like that because when I was watching it, I had thought that like it was just gonna end with Stuntman Mike crashing on the car the same way.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was gonna be like the focus, saying like oh, Stuntman Mike does this all the time. Because with that conversation when he was in the hospital for whatever reason, I thought like and then the 14 months passed in the second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know he was just gonna like sideswipe him a bunch and fuck with their minds.
Yeah, that was strange. Like, I don't think he ever wanted her to fall off, actually, to be honest. I think he was okay with just, like, jarring him a little bit.
Like, Zoe just kind of ends up, like, being flung off because they run into, like, what did they run into?
I think they just, well, they kind of, like, just, like, swerved out, and, like, I
I'm
forget
pretty sure...
they might have ran into, like, a wood piling or something.
Actually, I think it was, like a side railing, actually.
Yeah, oh, like the Jersey wall.
Yeah, like, 'cause I remember they hit that. I remember she flew off, and that's when I remember felt like, oh shit, she's dead.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Stuntman Mike makes his whole speech.
Or he's like, yeah, it was fun, and then he gets
adios. And what I kept thinking they were gonna do was like when he pauses to go before he says adios, I thought it was gonna like maybe cut to the car and they'd all be like fucking dead.
Oh wow.
And then like then it goes to their what's her name?
I always call her Young Wanda Sykes.
Young Wanda Sykes, that's a good as name. Young Wanda Sykes, who was the one who established to carry a gun, like just shoots him in his arm.
And she misses all the other shots.
Yeah, but she got him in the arm, that's the important thing, and then he drives off.
The blood is very interesting too, because on the hood, it's not realistic looking, it's like super red.
That's hilarious, like that's just, I'm pretty sure that was intentional. That's completely fake looking.
Like it was basically red paint on the shield, but
and on his arm too.
Yeah,
like when you looked at that, just a hole in some red paint.
But it did work because I mean you knew instantly. Oh, there's blood on the windshield.
Yeah,
and I think that definitely did work. And just I love the shot of Zoe getting back in the car on the side, like she's gonna joust with the fucking.
Like really, bitch, really.
It's like she was ready. She was ready to get him.
I do like that they just had that reaction, like when Zoe like gets up out of the bushes or wherever she comes, like, hey, I'm okay, and then they just start laughing up, and then it's just like casual, hey, let's kill this person. Okay.
Because exactly, they're gonna get their and all of Tarantino's films talk about revenge. So I mean, you almost had to know that something like that was gonna come.
I just like that they're so casual about it.
It is.
And then like they're like, hey, sorry, where are you going? And you grab that pole and all that shit falls out of it. Me personally, I would have banged on the ground a couple times so all that fell out.
Yeah, of course.
You know how it is. I mean, if you're going to beat the shit out of someone, you got to do it with a clean pipe.
That's true. I mean,
that's just a rule of thumb.
You don't want to infect the wound.
You don't want them alive. But, no.
Oh, God. And I love that scene where he's got to try to pull the bullet out of his arm.
Was that what he was trying to do?
That's what he was trying to do, because that's what he drinks the stuff to kind of numb him a little bit, and then he throws it on there to try to disinfect it. So if they wouldn't have come in, what he was going to try to do was pull the bullet out.
Right. I thought you meant like he was trying to do it there, and I was like, what? Okay.
Like that's what he was trying to get to.
Okay, I see what you were.
But it did not happen.
Because they got there and then they started to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, it was not gonna.
And then a chase scene occurs, but reversed.
Yeah, which I really liked. I really liked that role reversal.
I did like it, but just saying there were at least like 3 different times where he could have like slowed down, turned the tides, and start chasing them again.
He could, but I think maybe you could say that he was very badly injured.
Yeah, maybe a mixture of panic, fear, and adrenaline.
And that whiskey he was drinking.
Yeah. Down it straight from the bottle.
Yeah, he was going for it. I mean, I guess if you got shot, you want to dull it anyway.
Right. Right.
It was intense. It was very.
Right.
So what would you say? Overall, what's your general rating of
the highlight for me at least is the first car crash, where not the first one, but the ending to the first part where like the 4 chicks just flat out die in a mess of gore.
Yeah.
That's the highlight overall. First half's a little bit second part it's great.
Are you gonna have a scale for these, or are you just gonna
just vague adjectives.
Okay. Well, I'd
recommend it.
Good. I definitely liked it. Again, it should be looked as a grindhouse film, because that's really what it is. I feel like it is one of Tarantino's at least most entertaining works, if not the best.
And I think the most important thing with the movie in general is just don't take it too seriously.
Definitely.
I think that's a good rule of thumb with any Tarantino movie.
Definitely. I mean,
Like, don't go in there like expecting like the most something that's serious as fuck like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Posters over there. That's why I'm saying it.
those are completely different movies. I love the juxtaposition of that. But it is. I thought overall good.
Yeah.
Good film.
First half could where use a little work though.
Yes, I definitely.
Well, that's my thoughts on it. We both seem to like it.
All right. Sounds good. Well,
All right.
thank you for having me.
Later.